Hello. Oh, it's been quite the week. I've had to reschedule this particular uh, part of true crime and legal update at least 3 times this week, and it's been because of power fluctuations in my area. I'm on the East Coast, and as many parts of the United States got a lot of rain over the last week or so, and there's been flooding. We've had problems in my areas too. North and south of me, there were large areas that were underwater, actually, and large power outages. In my area, I did not actually get underwater, thankfully, but we did have fluctuations in power, which made my internet just not trustworthy. Going in and out, not getting a strong enough signal to actually stream, and it was happening like during the morning and any time in the afternoon, and a lot of times it just happened like right before streaming, and I just kept moving it down the week. So this is the third reschedule, and then hopefully everything will stay up, and people will find the live eventually. If you don't get here for the live to chat, in the live chat, at least it will be up and the review will be done and you can view it later. So I always appreciate those replay views. I want to thank everybody. I also want to take a moment to thank everybody, all the new subscribers, all of those finding the content to be something that they enjoy. And I actually have seen a growth in subscribers lately and in view counts, people checking out some of my coverage of older cases and new cases. And it's very encouraging for me. And I want to take a moment to thank everybody, all the new people, and especially those of you, and you know who I'm talking to, who have hung out from the start, who appreciate the way I do it, who have been here from just about day one as I grew and changed and the channel became what it is now. I can't tell you what it means to me to have a little group of supporters who knew me from the start, know that I really haven't changed. I've been doing the same thing the same way all along. And well, you guys really matter. You really matter to me. And I appreciate you, each and every one of you. And thank you to my mods, because my mods help keep that chat going and the conversation, about the topic. And they don't let people get harassed in the chat. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And I couldn't do it without you guys. It takes a village, they say, not only just in raising kids, but in building up a YouTube channel. No one can do anything alone. It takes a good support system, and I'm very grateful for mine. I just wanted to put that out there. So tonight, tonight, have I got a few for you? Let's just see. What do I got here? I have. Oh, you're going to see a familiar face. I can hear y'all groaning already. I can hear the groans already. Yes. Yes, indeed. That would be over there, Sarah Boone. Yes. Sarah Boone. And then, of course, LoriDaybell. She just won't go away either. Oh, there's a face you may not recognize. That is Burke, rather. Burke in Washington. And CoreyBurke was some of you may notice that, like, I asked for an axe murder for Christmas, and CoreyBurke on election night in November. Well, she actually she allegedly uh, offed her father using a pickaxe during an episode on the night that Trump was elected in Seattle, Washington. Okay, in their family home. Yeah, so be careful what you wish for, people. But yeah, it happened. So I'm going to cover that one. There's not been a lot of information on it, but I do finally have an update. And then on the far side there, that's Mr. PaulCaniero from right here in New Jersey, being charged with the murder of his brother and his brother's family all the way back in 2018. And it's been a long time coming to trial, and we're getting there. And I've got an update on that too. So yeah. Oh yes, Mrs. Cassandra. She says, "Oh goodness, not Sarah." Oh yes, Yes, I have something on Sarah. And you know what? I think the best thing to do is to rip off the band-aid, and perhaps we should just start with Sarah. What do you think? I mean, yeah, I think I will. I'm going to bring that one up first, and we're going to start with Sarah because, I mean, why not? Right? Yeah. Okay. Let's make sure that that's going to come up. And we'll make it all big. Oh, yeah. But at least, at least it's not handwritten, but I do have to torture you with another, yes, another Sarah Boone letter. Yeah. Hey, book lover, long time no see. Hey, Mippet. No problem, love. Glad to see you. Rocket, thank you so much for being over there on Twitch and holding down the fort. By the way, all of you new subscribers and all of you my existing subscribers, I'm on Twitch and Kick. I stream on multiple platforms now, and please join me over there. Subscriptions are, it's free to follow, and I'm trying to build a base up over there. I would really appreciate y'all just going over there and hitting that follow button. You don't, if you want notifications, ring the bell. If not, no problem. But I could really use some support over there too on both Kick and Twitch. And once I get done this letter with Sarah Boone, I'll put some links in the chat for everybody. Yep. I've missed seeing that lovely little icon there too, Book Lover. It's good to see you. I haven't been on in the morning very much because there's no live trial, but there's plenty of replay going on. I'll tell you that. Man, true crime has been very, very busy. Well, we went through the Sarah Boone trial together here on this channel, and well, it was a ride. It was a ride. The years before it got to trial were quite a ride, and I had to read many a Sarah Boone letter to you all. Um, Sarah Boone has not stopped writing letter. She kept herself busy, trying to get everything straightened out in her arrangements for finances and stuff with her divorce, in custody and all of that with, in the civil, in the domestic courts, in Florida, between her and Brian Boone, her ex-husband, uh, trying to get some back alimony and money and this, that, and the other thing. But now, as a charged murderess, serving a life sentence, she's not really in a position to bargain as much as she was before. But she's been letters back and forth and this and that, keeping herself pretty busy there. But the other thing that she's been worried about since the beginning has been the appeal for her murder charge here, for her sentence. Okay, and she was given an appellate attorney by Michael Krasinski, by our judge. Okay, our lovely Judge Krasinski. I love this judge. I love this judge. You know, this judge, such a judge. The patience of this man, Michael Krainick, okay, has more patience than any judge I've ever seen. I mean, we've met some really nice judges, like not really met them one on one, but through the internet, watching them, But Judge Krainick, the patience of this man, he loves his job. He does it very well. We tried to educate Sarah Boone on the proper way. He had great tolerance for some of the shenanigans going on by her defense team. Um, Probably going to go down as one of my favorite judges ever because his knowledge of the law, his use of the law to make his points and to try to help Sarah Boone. And he's not allowed to give advice as a lawyer or whatever, but try to steer her on the right path. And when she was pro se, which thankfully didn't last very long. He was such a patient judge, and so kind to the jury, like, and so respectful to everybody in the court. Just very personable. I really enjoyed watching him do his thing. Really did. Okay. Well, he assigned her a appellate attorney in the beginning, who fell through right away. And then he had to reassign an appellate attorney who is now Joshua Adams. And well, apparently, Miss Boone is not very happy with Mr. Adams. Okay. So let me just get down to the nuts and bolts of the letter. And I don't have to read her horrific handwriting. You know, it's actually typed, this one, you know. So, in the Circuit Court of the Ninth Judicial Circuit in and for Orange County, Florida, and there's her case number. For the state of Florida is the plaintiff versus Sarah Boone defendant. And this is, going to be about the appeal. Notice of inquiry. Comes now Sarah Boone, appellant, and respectfully moves this honorable court to please provide status of her court-appointed appellate attorney, Joshua E. Adams, Esquire, in addition to her inquiry as to the status of her pending appeal. In support, the appellant states the following. An order was filed with the Ninth Judicial Circuit by the Circuit Court Judge Michael S. Kranig, appointing appellate counsel on December 18, 2024. Court Appellant Counsel Joshua E. Adams has sent a single basic introduction via inmate messaging to appellant on February 27th of 2025, asking if she had any information and to not hesitate to contact him with. Appellant has attempted to contact Mr. Adams via inmate messaging 5 times and sent 2 handwritten letters to his office in efforts to receive status of her appeal and to confirm receipt of her correspondence to ensure his representation was and still active from no response from him. I cannot stand the way she writes a sentence. Basically, that one just means you better let me know you got my letter. Not only do I write you a letter, it doesn't matter what's in the letter, but you need to write me back a letter saying you got the letter. Okay, because this woman's demanding. Okay, she needs to know. She needs to know everything. Okay, but apparently she's received nothing from him. To the present date of this inquiry, appellant has not received any type of response or correspondence in any form or manner from Joshua E. Adams, nor has any of her 9 third-party representatives on her behalf via email and phone calls, which go directly to his voicemail. What? Sarah Boone has contacted 9 people to contact her attorney. Yes. How do these people fall for this with her? She just goes there oh, I need such help. I need you to contact my attorney. I haven't heard from here. This isn't my appeal's going to be denied. It will be denied for not timely filing in her eyes because she hasn't heard anything. But I got news on that. Because behind the scenes, Mr. Adams has filed with the court for extensions to file each and every time. I don't know why, if she can go on messaging and she can contact 9 people to contact her attorney, she can't go into the public documents that I just did and see that her attorney got extensions. I do believe she knows. I do believe she knows. I do believe that any of those 9 people that she contacted to email or call Joshua Adams also could have told her the same thing. This is a public access website and they can see the activity on there. Sarah Boone doing this kind of stuff, this isn't going to help with an appeal. This is not going to motivate this attorney to contact her. This is just, same old Sarah, right? Same old Sarah. Manipulation. She just manipulation. Well, she just got 9 people to badger her appellate attorney to contact her. And I don't know why she thinks that daddy's going to make that man contact her. That man will contact her when he has something to contact her about. He needs to find in her case something to appeal. Not what she thinks should be appealed. She's not a lawyer. She could try to direct it all she wants, but you actually need a reason to appeal. Something has to be in there. Okay? It's not guaranteed. Oh. This is the one time where she's really going to need them to let the lawyer do the lawyering. She did try to control her case. We all saw it. She directed her defense, and it didn't work out in her favor, did it? She had 3 lawyers in the end, and she tried to direct them, each of them, and it didn't work out in her favor. She took the stand in her own defense. That didn't work out in her favor. I don't know why she thinks motivating 9 people to contact this attorney is going to work. This is crazy. And everything's going to voicemail. You know what? In private practice, that's often what happens, especially if you don't have a lot of people working for you. It goes to voicemail, and he'll answer calls according to importance. In this appeal, isn't really probably on the top there. He just got another extension on July 1st. She wrote this letter on July 8th. Ongoing 7 months, appellant has received one message from her court-appointed appellate attorney. Appellant was recently made aware by a third-party representative that the court issued an order on June 13th with a 20-day due date, requiring an initial brief be filed on her appeal, or it may be dismissed. Due to the complete lack of proper and effective communication from her court-appointed appellate attorney, the appellant's appeal is now in jeopardy. I'm sorry, but you should have read on July 1st then that he did notify the court and an extension was granted. And that was a week before you filed this letter. So you're a little behind there, Sarah, you know. The failure of an appointed attorney to perform duties or communicate with their client cannot be held against the appellant. Dismissal of an appeal under these circumstances would be an obvious denial of her due process and effective assistance of counsel. See Pullen versus State 802. Oh gosh, Sarah's in the library again. Florida 2001. The failure of appointed counsel to act cannot be imputed to the defendant to justify dismissal. Oh, see Edge versus State also in the Florida docket books for a case in 2005. Appellant further invokes Douglas v. California from 1963, which guarantees the right to counsel on a first appeal as a right, and Adders versus California, which outlines the duty of appointed appellate counsel to support the appeal or withdraw following proper procedures, neither of which have been followed here. Appellant respectfully requests his honorable court to please advise and take notice of these violations, and to either compel court-appointed appellant attorney Joshua E. Adams to fulfill his legal duties and communicate immediately, or appoint new counsel capable of necessary communication and representation, and inclusion of the appellant. Dated this 21st of June. Oh, this was only put on the website on the 8th, but she sent this June 24th. So I take that back, Sarah. You didn't know that he got an extension. But let's go look at those extension dates. Okay, the rest of this, the other 3 pages, is just where it, the certified that it went to the court and the appeals court, okay, and, the handwritten letter in priority mail receipt. Okay, so let me I want to bring up, let's see, I knew there was several on here. On July 1st, there is an order. There was, okay, I'm going to show you this. First, let me open that. Okay, I'm going to show you what's going on the page, so you know what I'm talking about here. Okay, he has been doing work. He had to wait for stuff. They just, on April 15th, the transcript went through. If you can, let me just pull this back up here. Okay. Uh, uh, See that big number there? That says 2,529 pages of transcript. Plus, there were several other meetings below of numbers, pages 78, 37, and 107. These are actually hearings or court dates that had sidebars, December 2nd, September 3rd, October 2nd, that needed to be transcribed separately, that were requested. So there has been information submitted. There was also on May 2nd, there that was actually the court asking that the transcriptions all be put forward, which they were, okay, and indexed. Then in May they did get indexed, and then she's right, on June 15th there was a notice because they hadn't heard from the appellate court that was sent out. But then on July 1st, there is, because we don't see it on the file, but apparently there was the request for an extension. Motion for extension of time is granted. The appellant shall serve the initial brief within 60 days from July 1st. So now we'll go to September. Okay. I hereby certify that the foregoing is a true and copy original of the court order. Okay. And it went to Joshua Adams, and it also went to Mr. Owens. Okay, for attorneys for the appellant. Okay, and that's all that needs to be done. It just needs to be publicly posted. And so then, of course, the notice of inquiry was put up on July 8th. Now, Sarah's letter is dated June 25th, so I understand she may not have seen all of that, But hey, looks like she's up to her old tricks. I haven't heard from you. I need to hear from you. You need to include me in everything, or I'm just going to keep complaining and complaining and complaining. And you're right, Mrs. Cassandra. She'll be on Lawyer 12 pretty soon. Very, very soon. You know? Um, She's never happy. You're right. She's never happy with any of her lawyers. Nobody does it as good as Sarah, apparently. Hey, Jen, good to see you. Welcome. Hey, Grace, good to see you too. Welcome, welcome. Okay. So that's for Sarah. Appeals take a long time. It's going to be really kind of difficult to find a lot wrong with this trial, although we do have some areas which I'm thinking that her appellate attorney could focus. In one of them is when we had the expert witness who Mr. Owens fought so much to try to impeach because she gave a more expanded opinion about what was going on with Sarah, and she would not agree about the battered spouse. But she was the opposing psychologist, forensic psychologist, against the other psychologist that actually said that Sarah, after meeting her just a couple times, could tell that she had issues. Well, this other one who's used to testifying refused to believe that. She thinks that she was coached. She basically wasn't going to go in. And Mr. Owens fought desperately to keep a lot of the testimony out or to have everything thrown out because she expanded on her opinion, and he didn't ask her certain particular questions that were now being asked, and she didn't answer word for word the way he liked. And that could be one of the issues that went on for a while. We had a mini hearing right in the middle of the trial about it, if y'all remember. Okay. It could be the way they did not like in the beginning the defense. There was a lot of sidebars, and there was a lot of mini hearings going on between one of the lawyers and the judge in regards to the battered spouse defense, which needs an actual event, an inciting event that has to be declared in court before you can actually use that as a defense. It is a self-defense type of thing, and you could say self-defense as your defense without it. But if you actually want to talk about battered spouse under the law in Florida, there need to be a triggering event. There need to be something that happened, and it needs to be established through evidence into the court system before. So even though Judge Cranick let them talk about it in opening statements and stuff, he said they could not present evidence to it until Sarah Boone took the stand and declared when that triggering event happened and how it happened before they can even bring the battered spouse defense in and start talking with, bring the psychologist in to say, like, she reacted the way she reacted because of this situation. That's under Florida law. Like, so, Judge Cranick stuck to that as much as the defense pushed back. And, Mr. Henderson came in there and he was like the expert on battered spouse, so to speak. And he was arguing, well, it is just a self defense and we could talk about self defense all we want. And we shouldn't have to present our whole case, just to get it in and, this and that. And the judge was like, the law's the law. Like, that's how it is. You can talk about it in opening, but you can't present any evidence in regards to battered spouse until the triggering event is established. Now, unfortunately for Sarah, there's nobody to establish the triggering event because it was only her and George there. So it's her and George. George can't do it. Sarah had to take a stand. And Sarah had to declare all of that and make the foundation for it, you know? So there we go. So that's one issue. What do you guys think? Was there anything else that stands out in that trial? Hey Mouse, that you think, what could possibly, be an appeal issue? I mean, legally, I think Crane dotted every I and crossed every T the best he could. Couldn't ask for a better judge with patience and to make sure that Sarah's rights weren't violated, as annoying as she was. And she was hella annoying. I don't envy anyone that has to deal with her. Um, she wants things a particular way. She's a bit controlling, you know. I guess if my life was on the line, I would be too. I think I try to work better with others, though. But can you believe she actually had 9 people contact her appellate attorney? What is that? What is that? She I don't know. This is all attention for Sarah. She's showing off that she can read her law books now, citing precedent in cases like she's some kind of an authority. It's very humorous actually to me because she doesn't really do herself any good. She's really just going to irritate people to the point where they're not going to want to call her as often. They're going to hesitate picking up that phone. They're going to hesitate meeting with her in person and only do what they need to do. Currently, there's nothing to be done by Sarah. She's just pissed off that nobody's talking to her about it. That's not unusual. These things take a long time, okay? A long time. Well, I think the attorney will contact her when there's something to contact her about. What's he going to do? Just say hello? Ask her what she would do in this situation? You know what? He's not contacting her because he doesn't want to know what she would do in this situation. She's not the attorney. She doesn't know the law well enough to pick the issues that would be the problem in this case. Yeah, she probably would. She did that with Miss Cashman, didn't she? Because she didn't like the way she talked to her, you know? Uh, she would. She would avoid it. But it's not going to be in her defense. She's only writing this letter because she thought that he was not in contact with the court. But he was, you know? And he doesn't need her permission to contact the court to ask for that extension. After all of those transcripts, the size of those transcripts were all filed and they need those for the appeal, and he has to review it all, of course they're going to give him an extension. Of course they are. Yep. Exactly, exactly, Mousy. She did have an attorney. Well, Mr. Owens didn't sign on to do the appeal as much as he just clearly believed in her cause. He was done at the end of that trial. Done. It would have been a better approach if one of those attorneys took on the appeal, but they didn't. And you know what? That's not really unusual because appealing is totally separate, and it's a different study in case law. It's a different approach, and it needs a different excuse me type of experience. You need more experience in appealing. The more experience you have in doing appeals, the better. So it does take a different type of attorney. So it's not unusual to go with an appellate attorney, a specialized appellate attorney in this case. So, you know, anyway, that's on Sarah Boone. Let's bring up somebody else now. Let's see. Who do we have? Let's see. What order did I have these in? Mm-mm-mm. Uh, Here we go. Let's just see who pops up next. Oh, do you miss that face, everybody? I don't. No, I do not. Oh, Miss LoriDaybell. Oh boy. Do you miss that face? No, I don't. But we're going to see that face again soon because Lori's going to be having her sentencing next week. Contrary to what she would like, because Miss Lori Daybell has filed to get a new trial. She did a handwritten appeal to the court to get a new trial, and she brought up some really interesting things. Okay. First of all, she was trying to get a new trial, and one of the issues that she mentions in the new trial is how unfair Judge Boreski was in making her go through with the trial when she was sick. Remember in jury deliberations, like she was not, like, they were going to go forward with opening statements and everything and the finalizing of the jury instructions, and she was just too sick to attend. She showed up in a wheelchair because he made her attend and present. Like, nope, you don't get to just call in sick from jail. No, she hadn't seen a doctor in jail. Nobody declared her ill at the jail. Only Lori Daybell declared herself too sick to attend trial. So when she came that day, the judge saw like how she was, and they did cut it short because she wasn't like feeling so well. She was very dramatic. Okay, all right. So she went, they cut it short. She went back. The judge made an order for her to be seen by the medical doctors at the prison. Now, if you see that somebody's sick and she's suffering, that does not like torturing her. That's getting her the help she needs. But oh no, not in Lori's eyes. This was forcing her to have medical treatment and disclose things that were personal and private to her, and she shouldn't have to. And she ended up like something about a UTI and getting antibiotics, and all of this is against her will in violation of her rights. And how dare Judge Boreski actually interfere? I kid you not. I kid you not. Somehow or another, Judge Boreski ordering her to be taken care of, also because she pulls such crap in the court. It is up to him to determine whether or not she is well enough to concede. He's not going to delay a trial on the words of Lori Daybell, a convicted felon 3 times prior, before ended up at 4 times prior before this one, because this was during the Bordeaux trial, the last trial. She's already been convicted 4 times, and he's supposed to take her word that she doesn't feel well? Of course not. Any judge would actually have an examination done. Okay. Well, now she's really, really upset because nobody's taking her word for it. Nobody's actually backing her up that she's too sick to attend trial. She was ordered to attend trial, that she was well enough. She acted so sick in front of the judge and everybody else until she had to stand in front of that jury, and then she was just fine. And they made note of that in the transcript, that she just seemed to be fine when she had to talk to the jury. And then she would be like, you know, putting her head down on the desk and not answering when she was spoken to by Judge Boreski. Anyway, she files a very long, I think it was like 8 pages. I didn't read everything. She picked on everything, not being able to have her witnesses again. Same like the first trial. It's all Judge Boreski's fault that she couldn't get together what she needed to get to. She should have been given much more time. They should have did a delay, even though she's the one who was forcing them to hold this trial within a certain period of time. Over and over again. Like, if she had been given the extension, she would have plenty of time to meet with her investigator, meet with her actual supporting counsel, her advisory counsel, and to get things together. But no, it's everybody else's fault because she can't have things the way she wants to have them. So there's a litany of stuff in there that I don't even want to read, or plus it's all in their little chicken scratch handwriting, and it's just really difficult. But basically, uh, all her rights have been violated. Okay. So the state, of course, Trina K, she's just like, I ain't messing with this. How dare she say that she was too ill to attend trial when we have court documentation from the medical providers that she was fine. So the state asked for the medical records so that they could do their response to what Lori said, which is allowed. And then Judge Beresky allowed, okay, the state's request to review those letters. So now Lori is really pissed. Because now she says they're violating her First Amendment rights by disclosing her medically protected information. And now she wants everything tossed. Okay, I kid you not. Okay. The state of Arizona understands, submits for the record that the state is not in possession of any of the defendant's medical records. All information relating to the defendant's medical diagnosis comes from the defendant stating the facts on the record, or from Joseph Vigil on behalf of the Correctional Health Services in a filing or on the record. Because actually, she tried to say that the state violated her rights by getting all of her medical information, which is not true. Lori loves to exaggerate. She takes a little kernel of something that happened, like the fact that she had to get examined at the Correctional Institute, for this illness that she said she had, and they didn't really find anything. And the state's allowed to use that. And all they had, remember, they came to the court and they gave testimony that she was well enough to attend, that they could not find any major issue with her that would cause her not to be able to attend court as directed by Judge Beresky. Okay. And so that was from Correctional Health Services. They examined her, they had the record, they made a statement, and all of that was available to the state because it was ordered by the court. And it was about prolonging redoing the trial and whether the trial was going to go forth. So now they're allowed to use it in their response to Lori Day. And she doesn't like this. She doesn't like this at all. That they can actually use the facts of the case against her. As usual, she's going to, well, be really, really upset about it. Hey, hey there, Mandy. Hey, Shill. You know, he really is Mippet. He's so good and he's so patient. He's right up there with Kranick. He really is. He really is. Uh, what about the rights of her former husbands and children? The rights to life that she took away from that. Yeah, what about that? What about that? Exactly. So anyway, I have not seen an answer to this demand for retrial. It keeps going to other courts, and the last couple were actually denied outright. So I'm not sure. I think right now we are currently going right still to sentencing. And it is my plan to actually do a live for the sentencing. I hope you'll all join me. I think that that's going to tie up the case since we did do the trials live. I want to actually tie that case up nicely. Um it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. As much as being pro se is a right for someone to represent themselves, it's really not the wisest thing. And when you get somebody who wants to be as manipulative and controlling as Lori Daybell, I mean, apparently she's innocent and she has a whole following in Idaho in the prison, and how she's going to be an advocate for women who are wrongly accused. In this is her life's mission now. She's been assigned, by the Lord, to take care of all of this. And I'm wondering, like, how anyone can take someone who's been convicted of four life sentences already, and now now attempted murder on top of that. Um, she's got the two children, her husband's wife, her ex-husband, okay, Charles Fallow, and now the attempted murder of Brandon Bordeaux. All of them convicted by a jury, okay? And yet she's trying to come off as some advocate for prisoners' rights. like she's just this stellar representation of good and what's wrong with the justice system. Like she's picking up that mantle now. And for me, that's pretty scary because, like, the last person I want representing people who have been wronged in the process is Lori Vallow Daybell. This manipulative woman who just has no regard for the lives around her and what had happened. A selfish woman, only looking at her goals and her agenda. One of those truly suffering from me, you know, how she could pick up like the torch and try to represent, be a prisoner advocate of any type is beyond me. And why anyone would put her in a position of power that way, as far as representing within the prison system, that is just unfathomable. Like I just hope it's just all her just, you know, talking the bullshit. I hope none of it's really gonna come true. But the interviews she's been doing lately, like they truly piss me off. Absolutely pissing me off. Um I saw that Nate Eaton from East Idaho News, he got a lot of pushback for actually giving her even a platform anymore. And I understand how the victims in this case, their families and friends, and even some of the true crime community could actually feel about that. Um, you want to hear, it's kind of interesting. You want to hear from the prisoner, their side of it. But Lori's had enough time. Lori's had her day in the sun to tell her side of the story. It's time for Lori to be silenced and the victims' voices to be heard and acknowledged and represented in a positive light, in the healing to happen. The, I don't want to say that Nate did the wrong thing. Of course, he's going to do the interview, and it's trying to understand I mean, really, what seems to be sociopathic tendencies of this crazy person. It's so unfathomable what happened in this case. You know, the lost lives, how they were lost, the discovering of the bodies, the things that they did to cover stuff up, the manipulations, the actual mind, trying to get into people's minds and declaring whether they're good and evil, and actually putting themselves on a pedestal like they're gods and goddesses. It it's disgusting, you know. But I can also understand why people are intrigued and want to try to understand where the heck, like, how did she get like that? Because she wasn't always like that. Yeah, so I understand where Nate was coming from, but I also understand the pushback because I too am tired of hearing from her. Like, I want the victims' voices to be the last thing that we hear, the families that were affected. That's our justice system. You know, I don't want Lori she can't make any money on this, but I don't want her causing damage to anyone else. I think she's dangerous. She's dangerous with the bullshit that she sells. And I don't think it should be supported anymore. I don't. I think she needs to be silenced. She don't deserve a platform. Giving that woman a platform is dangerous. That's my opinion. Like it or leave it, I know I'll piss some people off, you know. Yeah. I know. Yeah. Yep. I saw that before I came on there, um, Mandy, and I did a thank you in the beginning of the stream. Yes, I did hit 18K like a while ago today. Um, it apparently there's been some promotion of my channel itself on the YouTube algorithm. In those that are actually finding my content for the first time, they're all subbing up and checking out older videos. A lot of my older videos are like getting a lot of views right now, and it's really kind of heartwarming, you know. And I've been at this for a while, so it's encouraging. It's a little overwhelming. Like, it's not something I expected, and I don't really, some people get frustrated with me. because I don't like to pay attention to the numbers. I just want to do my content like I always did, you know. And if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, you don't. As long as I can sleep at night by what I put out here, and I try not to do misinformation, I try to understand all sides of a situation. And y'all know me. I love the conversations. And what really tickles me is that the new subscribers and the people that are viewing my older content, it's not just true crime. It's evenly based throughout all the other stuff I do. Black Mirror and the reads for the Hitchhiker Guide, and even the 50th Law this series that I just did with Wrecker. And we're starting the 48th Law on Saturday, by the way. Should be pretty interesting. I hope you'll catch us tomorrow on that. Um, to have these conversations, to do things that I just enjoy. This is a hobby. It's not a job. I never set out to be some great YouTuber, and have a big platform. But it is encouraging to know that other people are enjoying the stuff that we do. But I'm mostly grateful for all of you right there in the chat that have been here for quite some time, years. Every single one of you there has been here for years. Okay, some of you did panels with me on uh, in other communities, either in the atheist community or in commentary on other panels. Some of you saw me when I did stuff with other channels in regards to true crime. Some of you just hit me for the comedy stuff I used to do. And or just because I was a mod for some channel that you watched before. And I'm so grateful to all of you, really. I hope to keep doing this, but enough about me. Okay, so stop that. Like, stop that. Okay. Yeah. Oh, were you just a mod when, like in the beginning? Remember that, Mrs. Cassandra? I was just a mod. I was just a mod. I mean, I always did some true crime in the background, for me. But yeah, I was just a mod. I was just a mod at one time. All right, let's talk about the next case. Enough about me. Let's carry on. Yeah. Anyway, this is CoreyBurke. Okay, that was at the last hearing that she went to. This is CoreyBurke's wife. Okay, CoreyBurke. Let's just get my stuff up on CoreyBurke. Uh, this was back on election day, November 2024. CoreyBurke stands accused of the murder of her father. She lived with her father in the house. She had what could only be stated as perhaps an episode. Now, it's not being stated that it has anything to do with the election. I don't want that to be something that you all think I'm putting out there, because I'm not. I'm not. I'm not going to say it's because of who was elected or she had any kind of feelings in some way about that, because I don't. I think there was actually more going on there than that. But let me pull up, give me a second. I have to get my document. Uh, where is this? Okay, I don't know what happened to it. Hold on one second. Well, when the last time I tried to do an update on CoreyBurke, I was going into the Washington site, okay, and everything they would have a hearing, and all of a sudden, nothing. There would be nothing reported about the hearing. Now, when CoreyBurke was first arrested back in November of 2024, she was in the Rainier Valley neighborhood of Seattle, Washington, and the prosecutors there report that she had an argument. Um, she was 33 at the time, and she's arguing with her 67-year-old father, Timothy Burke, over turning off household lights, and that it had escalated tragically. According to the court documents and the affidavits that were filed, Burke fetched an ice climbing axe tripped him, strangled, and bit him in the basement, then struck him multiple times, including a fatal blow that pierced his rib cage and lung. She actually stayed by his side until he passed, and then smashed nearly every window in the upstairs of the house. Like they had this modern type house as a liberation act, and this is what actually caused the neighbors to hear all this ruckus and to call the police. And then at the when the police arrived, there was an event. She wouldn't let them in. They noticed that she was really like basically kind of out of her mind. They thought something was going. Neighbors, when they alerted the authorities, they said they heard screams and glass breaking because she was actually, yelling herself. They did find her. She wouldn't let them in, but then she was outside of the house afterwards. So she was disoriented, covered in her father's blood. They were worried about her mental status. So, like, they transported her to the hospital for evaluation. And then once she was cleared there, they booked her into King County Jail and charged her with the first degree murder of her father. She's been held on $2 million bail, and she's still in. Oh, she has not made bail. Now, a lot of the court things have been delayed, but in the beginning she did actually show up. The picture that I have up here is when she did show up to enter her plea, which she did say that it was not guilty. Okay. Um, she did have a long standing strained relationship in lack of boundaries with her father back and forth, perhaps in regards to her lifestyle. She's part of a power couple in the LGBTQ community. She's outspoken. She is describing the incident that happened as a act of liberation. Okay. Um, and she said it was specifically in regards to aimed at changing attachment to parents. In other words, she had this big thing about how our parents feel about the things that we do is too strong and we shouldn't give that much weight to it. And I think that might have been maybe her father did not agree with her lifestyle. We don't know. We don't know the details yet. Hopefully, we'll hear about them in the court. But she remains held on bail pending further proceedings. It is moving forward because we do have an update in regards to that. Um, According to the docket, okay, uh, in July, actually June was supposed to be the trial date, and there was nothing. I couldn't get anything on the hearings, no reason as to why it was moved. But now, after the actual hearing that supposedly happened sometime in the end of June, the beginning of July, they have rescheduled everything. Now we've got a trial date of September 2nd. And on the 22nd, in a couple of days, we've got an omnibus, like we've got a hearing as to the status of what everything is going on. So hopefully we will get some updates because I'm telling you, even in the news cycles, like nobody's picking up on what's going on with this trial. It's very hard to get anything on it at all. Um, but we're doing what we can to keep up on it. Now, what the motivation was or what was going on. I mean, she's a very intelligent woman. She worked with Jeff Bezos. She worked with one of his big scientific aerospace companies. She's an engineer. Very intelligent, very articulate. Okay. Very prominent. Her wife is a writer a very prominent writer and commentator in the LGBTQ community for rights and events, and they were like a power couple. This is just an extraordinary event and shows some of the strain that can happen, in family dynamics here with stuff like I don't know why she was living with her father. She's 33. Maybe he needed care of some nature. Well, that was her home of residence. She did live with her father, and she was often with her spouse. They are married together as a power couple. Well, she, back and forth, I guess. Now, her wife did show up for the hearing, but has released no statement and talked about this case not at all. There's not a word about it, okay, anywhere. Oh, it's pretty hard to get information on it when nobody's talking about it. And I think that's because of the mental health issue in the beginning. I mean, she did go to the hospital, and those records are all going to be sealed. Her ongoing evaluations in regards to it are sealed. It could be why several of the hearings were removed. It could have been in regards to representation. She has attorneys on file. Um, but there's not a lot of paperwork going back and forth. Okay. So as soon as I have more information, I'll let you know. But I'm really curious as to what's going to happen on the hearing on the 22nd. And I just wanted to update you guys that trial did not happen in June, like as it was posted to, and that's why we didn't talk about it, because it never happened. And they just are letting me know about it in July that it never happened. Like it wasn't even updated on the calendar until recently. So, just to show you how that one goes. But it's an interesting case, and I want to follow it because, well, the mental health aspect of it and the privacy aspect of it there, and how much did that contribute? And how do you go from just, a high profile job, which in itself has a lot of pressure, being part of a power couple in another community, that also has a lot of pressure. Well, then have like a family dynamic where it appears, and I don't know for sure, but it appears that there might be some strain into the acceptance of lifestyle or the acceptance of just the parent child dynamic in itself. In It's not the first time that CoreyBurke has spoken about that. She had made other statements publicly about that dynamic, um, from what I have seen. But then to say that this whole thing was a celebration and a declaration of the separation of the power of a parent over a child, it was a little disturbing for a 33-year-old woman to make. Like there's some issue there. Like I don't know what's going on. I'm sure in the trial maybe we'll hear about that, but I don't know. I doubt very much it's going to be public, and I do hope that the news media does pick it up so that we do get some information on it. Um, but yeah, that's where we are with that one. The gift that keeps on giving, the axe murder that we were given for Christmas last year, 2024. We'll see. Hopefully, it'll be tied up soon. I mean, they definitely, she never waived her rights to timely trial, so it should happen in September. They have to have a good reason to delay. If not, well, we'll see. We'll see what's going on. Yeah. Well, I'm glad your internet is back, Mouse. I've been having trouble myself. It's so frustrating, isn't it? Yeah, to have internet problems. When the system's down, the system's down. Okay. All right. The last one that I have for you, if there's no questions, she sounds like she may have issues. Yep. She most certainly does. Um, yeah, that's what I say too, Mippet. A big wow on that one. But at least there's some movement, like because for months I've been trying to get information on it, and there's been nothing, nothing. At least we have some information now on it going forward. Okay, all right. So, you're gonna love this last one. Now, since 2018, PaulCaniero. Okay, ah, there's so much on PaulCaniero. Basically, we are still going forward to trial, and things have heated up. He got new defense attorneys because of some movements that was happening in Monmouth County itself in regards to the into the defense department. Like, everybody was moving all over the place, and so his previous defense attorneys, public defender's office, were had to leave. One of them had to go. He got two new public defenders, and she came out gangbusters. First of all, she got a change. She wanted to change the venue, okay, because there was too much publicity. People said bad stuff about PaulCaniero in 2018 when the murders happened. To refresh you, he is some of the charges, and there's a litany of them, by the way. But the main charge against PaulCaniero is for the murder of his brother's wife, and their two children, and burning down the home that they were in. Um, uh, yes, that's what he is accused of, allegedly. Going to trial to face these charges. It's been a long road. Okay, lots of evidence. Okay, he also is charged with burning his own home in in actually tampering with evidence. He's also got some financial charges against him for fraud in stealing from his brother's companies and in the companies that he was in. It's got quite a few charges on him in regards to this case. And there's been some movement in this case. If you recall, this case also is the one that we had a long hearing about in regards to new technology for testing DNA, to where they used mixed DNA when you've got samples, small samples that have more than one contributor, and how it can be separated and all. There was a company out of New Zealand. The guy flew over here. They had weeks long hearing on it, and the judge finally allowed all that evidence in. He did definitely say that the technology is sound. It's got good report. As hard as they tried to keep it out, that actually still came in. It was the old defense attorneys that handled that particular hearing. New defense attorneys took over afterwards, and they have been going after all of the evidence, and they've been successful in getting some of it tossed. Unfortunately, particularly if you'll remember, they had video of what the prosecution claims is PaulCaniero actually saying, well, he said that there was a power outage. But at the time there was a power outage, his home security system actually picked him up, like turning the cameras off in his own home, and they wanted to use that footage of that camera footage from the DVR system in his home. They got it from the DVR that records all of the home camera footage, security footage. They wanted to use that to prove that he was lying in his statement in regards to the power being out at a certain time already. Like, the power didn't go out, he dismantled the system. The system was fine, and they were trying to prove that he purposely, with intent, because intent is part of all of the charges here, had dismantled it, part of the cover up, part of the plan, right? Problem is, they didn't have a warrant for that DVR. Mm-mm. It was actually, the DVR was actually located in a building outside of where his home was, like in a shed. And that's where he kept all of it, like his working garage. He kept it there. That's where the wiring and his computer was, like for this particular system and all. And what they had said during the trial, once the defense had tried to get this removed, what they said in the hearing, actually, the prosecution came forward and said, listen, we had to, because like the house was on fire and we were afraid that evidence was going to be disturbed. So we actually went into the shed and we removed all of that, and it's now part of the evidence and everything. But here's the problem. They didn't have a specific warrant to go like get anything out of the shed, and the shed wasn't on fire. In the house at the time they acquired the actual DVR, the house itself fire was under control and there was no danger of it spreading to the shed. So unfortunately, that argument didn't work for the prosecution, because the judge said, "Nah, you had time to get a warrant because there was no imminent danger of that burning down. You know, nice try, but nope." And so he's tossing that out. The other parts that are now tossed out are in regards to a overly broad, what the judge is saying is an overly broad warrant for all the contents in the house, in his vehicles, or anything to search for evidence. They weren't being very specific about what they were searching for or why, and it's the why that is the problem here. Because they had found two laptops in his Porsche Cayenne, by the way, because he was getting ready to like flee. He had packed stuff up that he thought was evidence that they might use against him, and he's going to like get rid of stuff, right? Because they did actually do the search and everything pretty quickly, because of the fire that he set. They became suspicious kind of right away of him because of footage that was outside of his home of him actually setting his own house on fire. Okay. And his wife, and by the way, his wife and children were in that house. They did get out successfully. But this man is being accused of actually setting that house fire too. Not only his brother's, where he tried to destroy the evidence of the bodies and everything there in Cold Snake, but actually in his own house in Ocean. Like, he went in as a I guess he thought that it would be an alibi, that he couldn't possibly have been, did that when his own house was on fire and he was like, taking care of everything, here. It kind of strange, right? Well, the overly broad were worried they picked up these laptops because they didn't specify what they might be looking for, like electronic devices to show communications for whatever crime it is they're looking at. They weren't sure at the time. So when they had the hearing, of course, prosecution said, well, it was in regards to the arson. We thought that could be communication back and forth or some kind of plan, about arson would be on these devices. Like, but the judge says, nah, no, you can't have the laptops, not the MacBook and the other one. No, those devices you're not going to be able to use. However, he did leave in the Apple Watch and all communications all the way back to 2018 because there were conversations with his brother on there and there's some stuff. And they are leaving like personal things of him, electronic devices like his cell phone and his iPhone watch, which we have learned from other trials really does hold a lot of damaging information that you can't turn off. Hmm. That he probably didn't take care of that, which will show location in communications and stuff like that. So that didn't get tossed so far, but they're still working on it. So I have great concerns of the evidence now in this case because the defense is also going after the arson experts. Okay. And they want the arson experts because they had different opinions. They want it tossed. They don't want him to testify because they have an arsonist that goes against everything that they said. All about whether in one closet it proves that it was a hot fire or a cool fire. I kid you not. It's actually the intensity of the fire they're arguing about and whether the evidence is going to go out and the expert actually gets to testify. Um, I'm 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 wondering like what the heck is going on here, like because that's just to me that's just insanity, like total insanity. It really is. Um, I'm trying to let me just pick. I'm going to just get a hold of the last article, which was just the other day, about that evidence. So it wasn't just a MacBook laptop. It was also, it's not two laptops. It's an iPad tablet in a laptop, just to be specific. And the judge in this case is Judge Lamo. And he's very precise. And he's a stickler for the law, as you can tell. Okay. Um, he also limited some of the evidence of PaulCaniero's phone to just the days before the murder, like the 19th and the 20th back in 2018, because that likely included all of the defendant's whereabouts and conversations he may have had with his brother, his sister-in-law, and all of that during the time frame of the murder. Okay, and I have something to play for you in regards to that, and let me pull that up because there is a phone conversation right before this happens, okay, which the prosecution is entering into evidence to show that the brother was on to the fraud that Paul Caneiro was committing in the stealing of money, in misappropriation of funds, tapping into life insurance stuff, against like his brother in the companies that they actually worked in together, because they did have a company together and he worked for the other company. And it, the walls were closing in, so to speak, in regards to his financial troubles. In this conversation, although one-sided, you cannot hear Paul Caneiro speaking. You only hear the brother speaking. Well, I'm hoping this will be loud enough, but I want to play this for you. Okay, let me know if you can hear it. Okay, it should start. It kind of starts automatically here. Let me just. Uh, is it playing yet? It's not playing. Hold on. Why is it not playing? Come on. It should play automatically. What's going on? All right.
You don't have the online access?
There we go. Can you hear me talk?
If you could just see a way to send me the password, I'll do the research myself. Thanks. Hi. I just spent the last hour and a half on the phone with the insurance company. They're saying they haven't received any money and that they took a loan against my account and they're taking another one in October, which is just in October. I need to know, show me where you're sending the checks in online. You're writing them out online. I need to know where they're going. I need you to wake up there and do it. And short of you being dead, I need to see the stuff. You need to log into your account then. You log into the TV account. Give me the login to the TV account. Your TV account, you don't know yours. You don't know your TV login. Go find it and give it to me. I need to see it now, Paul. I need to see it. I need to see it now. I understand, Paul. I understand that. I just been half the day. Paul, I'm telling you. I need it. I need it. I need it. Give me the login, Paul. Give me the login, Paul. Paul, just give me the login so I can see where the money went. They get on the computer and tell me where the money went. Paul, somebody else could read it to you now. I need to know where that money went. Look a little while, Paul. And I understand you're saying you need to wait the fuck up, Paul. Paul, I'm telling you. I just spent half the day looking for this. I need to know where it went. Are you sure it went to the right place this time? You have cash checks? You have cash checks? I hear what you're saying. Paul, I'm worried. I need to know where it went. All right, an hour or two. An hour or two. An hour or two, Paul. That means by 8 o'clock.
Yep. There we go.
Penny for your thought.
As you can see, the freaking ad comes in louder. Well, the audio was somewhat muffled because it comes from the security system, the overhead security system in the brother's home. That was going on. He did not sound happy. You're right, Mrs. Cassandra, because he was finding out that loans were being taken out against the insurance policies. Okay, and money was missing. And his brother was saying, I don't have the login to the account. This is what happened. And as you can hear, then he says he has cash tests to prove that he knows where the money went and nothing's going on. And the brother keeps pushing him for the information because he needs to know what's going on, because people inside of his business were reporting that shenanigans were going on. By the way, this is, PaulCaniero is not such a great guy. He was out on this, he was getting disability from the state of New Jersey, working for his brother in a business, but only getting paid under his wife's social security number for the work he was doing because he didn't want to get caught and he didn't want to lose his disability. So this is not a guy that was not afraid of breaking the law to do what he had to do. I mean, let's just put that out there right now. There's not a lot of integrity there when it came to the law to begin with. Okay. He was getting paid for all of his service under his wife's social security number. That was already documented. So the people inside the company, when he started like moving money around, they told the brother about it. Like, there was an office manager who did give information to the brother prior to this call in regards to some suspected amount of stuff that was going on. All right. And the brother knew it because money's missing. Now there's a lot of money. The brother is pretty well off. We got a really nice home in Cold Snake, two children and a wife. The brother's doing pretty well. There's a third brother that's not involved with their businesses that these two were in together. He worked for the brother in the one company, but he was co-owner of another business, both of them located out of Asbury Park. And they had some mutual employees involved that knew that was going on. The brothers were pretty well known. Okay. So there was definitely a financial strain here. That is part of the motivation that the prosecution is going to be presenting for the trial. Okay. Now, the defense is also trying to attack that line of defense. Okay. Trying to get all of this evidence talked out. Like, I'm getting concerned about this trial, to tell you the truth. Because if the defense is successful, through technicalities in getting in getting it tossed. That could be. I mean, I think what we just heard is pretty damning. The brother actually asking the other brother. The other brother now knows the gig is up. That his brother knows that there's something going on. He's asking for details. He's pushing him to log into accounts. He's saying he doesn't have passwords, and the brother's like, "Find the password. I'll do it myself. I need to know where this money went. I've got to track all this down." He's giving him excuses, saying he's got cash checks, he can show him, and he's like, "Show me, then show me." And he actually put it down to only a couple of hours that he had left, and boom, that's when everything happens. Okay, that's when everything happens. Okay, so we got a lot going on in this one. For years, this is from 2018. There's been everything you can possibly think of going on with this case. Remember, I talked about the Apple Watch. Okay, um, there are four text messages sent from Keith Caneiro, who is the brother who demised, phone to his brother's Apple Watch between 3:14 a.m. and 3:18 a.m. on November 20th, the night of the incidents, according to the judge's ruling. On July 1st, the assistant county prosecutor, Mr. Decker, trying to do the best he can to keep all this evidence in, revealed that those text messages sent from Keith Caneiro's phone to Paul relayed that the electricity to his house had been cut off and that he was going outside to check his generator. And that is where Keith Caneiro's body was later found that day, with bullets in the back of his head, in the back. His brother shot him, allegedly, in the back and left him on the front lawn. That is where his body was discovered. So that's a very strong piece of evidence there that I'm hoping so far has made it through all of these motions by the defense in regards to the warrants and etc. We are slated to go to trial with Mr. Caneiro in September of this year, for the murder of his brother Keith, his brother's wife Jennifer, and their two small children, Sophia 8 and Jesse 11. They were slain in the family's mansion on Willowbrook in Colts Neck on November 20th in 2018. And then the house was set on fire with the bodies in it. Okay. Um, Neighbors had reported the fire. That's how they found it. Mr. Caneiro, Keith, was found on the front lawn. He'd been shot 4 times in the head and once in the back. His wife, Jennifer, was found inside the house. Jennifer was found coming up the basement stairs, shot and stabbed, and the children were repeatedly stabbed. One in the kitchen and one, I believe, just outside the kitchen, uh, down the front steps, from the second story steps to the first floor. Uh, been also stabbed and were badly burned from the house fire. All the remains. Part of the DNA evidence that actually is staying in is actually on from a pair of jeans that was found in Paul Canero's basement. In searching, that had some drops of blood. In one of those drops of blood is actually his blood and one of the children's blood. I believe the nephew's. Um, he- and so that kind of puts him at the scene of the crime. How would that blood get there? Right? Yeah. Um, they allege that PaulCaniero set the fire to his brother's mountains to cover up the murders that he just did. They're actually accusing him of cutting off the power to his brother's house beforehand. And he went to the home, and afterwards, after the killings, he actually went to his own home and set his own house on fire to throw off the investigators, to making it look like someone wasn't targeting the whole family with violence and it was related to the business, probably to try to cover up everything, the business, the missing of the money, and everything. Well, his defense attorney, oh, by the way, his new defense attorney is Monica Masalone. She has been trying to get all this evidence, talked out. And, this has been the most movement on this case in years as far as defense attorneys trying to get rid of everything. Um, she's trying to get all of the electronic devices, says, arguing that the warrants didn't actually specify the devices and they were overly broad in that they weren't saying what they were looking for on the devices. Now, in some cases, that's going to work, in some it's not. It did work for the laptops, but it's not worked for the actual phone, although the scope was limited, or the Apple Watch. Okay. Um, George Lamone agreed about the MacBook and the iPad. Okay, they were, like I said, located in the Porsche Cayenne. Uh, and they were part of the warrant that authorized the search of his home and vehicles, including any and all cell phones, computers, and tablets found within. But what the warrant didn't do is specify what type of information they thought that they were going to find, what kind of evidence they were looking for, and without actually indicating what could have been on those computers. That's why they were actually put out. I actually am stunned by this. I think the judge is just being very, very careful. This is a very long, high profile case, and he's sticking to the letter of the law. And I think that the defense attorneys did a damn good job of setting precedent in case law to prove to him that they really did have the information at the time that could have been put in the warrant, because that's the key. If they had the information, they should have put it in the warrant. If they knew what they were looking at, they should have put it in the warrant. They had plenty of time to do that. And that's the problem. This is how the DVR got eliminated. They had the time to get the warrant. There was no danger of it being limited. They had him in custody. He couldn't change anything. Okay. But then to try to say that the reason they didn't was because of the fire, which was already under control and was in no danger of affecting this other shed where the DVR was listed, like, that's a reach. And it doesn't look good to the judge. And I think that's why he admitted, he just tossed that. Like, they did have time, you know. Um, we have seen tougher cases. I mean, Shawnee Crawl, we saw the body and the cell phones and everything get tossed out on that one because of a warrant, and they still got a conviction. I still think there's enough here. It's just going to be a lot harder for Christopher Decker in the prosecutor's office to get a conviction. But I still think he can. You know, I still think he can. We also are, like, so far, I think the arson expert is in. That was in the beginning of the hearing and it didn't get tossed out, but he's still considering a lot of stuff. Judge Lamu does not rule from the bench. Like, it's going to come later. But like I said, we got until September when this trial is going to come forward. You know. So any evidence as far as, like, how that evidence on the iPad and the MacBook may affect this case is in regards to the financial issues. Like, there's probably evidence on there of where he moved the money and what's going to, and they're going to have to use actual documents and stuff and not be able to, like, use the iCloud stuff or whatever that they find. Although they still could have did a warrant later for iCloud information and got it. You don't actually need the device, but it would have showed what email accounts he was using and transactions. It would have been easy, and it would have made it, like, pretty succinct. But they're not going to be able to use it. So if they find the information outside of the computer, that's one thing. But to use the laptops, they can't. Okay, they have to prove that they found the information in another way, and I think they will be able to, because they did have to subpoena a lot of the bank records. They're just going to have to use forensic accounting to prove it, which could be kind of boring for a jury, but it is possible. You know. Okay, so in applying for the warrant in regards to the devices, the prosecution actually showed that the investigators actually did establish a well-grounded suspicion of potential motive evidence as far back as April of 2018, which is why the cell phone data in the Apple Watch data, like they're going to be able to use some of that. Um, it was in April of 2018 when Keith Caneiro first confronted his brother about missing money. And that's the phone call that you guys just heard. That was in April of 2018. And things escalated from there. And by November 20th, Keith Caneiro, Paul Canero's brother, was dead. And that is how the prosecution is alleging that Paul Caneiro decided to solve his problem with his brother. Oh. Anyway, there are quite a few other motions in regards to evidence, more evidence that they're going over. They're still seeking to bar the state's arson in their ballistics experts in regards to the guns from testifying at trial and to suppress evidence of the financial motive for the murders. And we'll see how much of this stays in. We're going to be watching this one pretty closely. This is right here in my hometown, my home county of Monmouth in New Jersey. And I've been following this case for quite some time, and I really want to see it come to its end. I want to see the culmination of this trial. Uh, yes, the nephew put up a fight. Yep. Yeah. Oh, he ain't sus at all, right? No, he's totally sus. Like there's plenty there. There weren't a lot of like a lot of people were willing to give evidence. He's not very well liked, I can tell you that. Yeah, it's an interesting case. But if you guys don't have any questions, I think I'm going to wrap it up. That's the four for the night. I'm glad we finally got this one in this week. We had to move Black Mirror, that what I was going to do tonight, to next Friday. Mousy and I are going to do the sequel to the SSS Callister, the last episode in season 7. And then after that, we're going to have sometime probably in August, all of us are going to get together and talk about the whole season. Everybody who actually joined me for this season of Black Mirror is going to be late. But on the agenda for true crime, Monday, we will have the James Craig Week in Review. Now, I did just post the opening statements after our live that really didn't do the opening statements, as we looked for them over and over again in a place we were never going to find them, because what actually happened was that although they said that they were going to actually give the link for the opening statements, the closing statements, and the verdict, precisely they meant to media that they were giving out a link to pre-approved, those that contacted pre-approved and had been credentialed as journalists through a official media site would get a link to a WebEx in order to record the opening statements. Now, when it was presented in the things, we thought we would just go that the courtroom camera would be turned on, and it would be showing up on the website that I had up, which shows the courtroom, and you see the little cameras there. They do web that way, but that's not how they did this one. So I could not get the feed until the next day, when a media resource made it available to others, and we were able to do the recording for you. And I think that's how closing statements in the verdict are going to go also. So we may not be able to do it the day of, but I will get it to complete our playlist and have everything available that's available for those of you that like to do the replay or you want to catch up on the case. I don't blame you if you go watch it with one of the news medias. I didn't see anybody doing it live. The news medias only did parts of it here and there, even though they had the whole thing. And then it was put out later. Everybody was able to put it out later. So we'll be doing the same thing. But I'm covering this case. I'm very interested in this case. I think there's a lot to prove here. James Craig, we're going to do the whole week of trial and what happened as far as presentation of witnesses, expert witnesses, what the defense and the prosecution had done. We'll cover all of that on Monday. Okay. Then on Tuesday, I think we're going to do a little update on Lisk, Rex Harriman, and Luigi Mangione out of New York. And I've got a few other things up my sleeve, but Monday and Tuesday will be true crime. This Saturday, we start a new series with Wrecker, The 48 Laws by Robert Greene. And it's got a little bit different of a twist. The 50th Law by 50 Cent was fun to do. I like presenting that trying to take some of the aggression out of it and presenting it and how we can use it in now in 2025, where people are just losing their individual power or their ability, or feeling like things are out of control and they don't have in control of the situations. And we plan to do the same thing with the 48th Law. We're trying to drill it down to some of the more positive aspects of it, like trying to make it a resource for good instead of evil, so to speak. Yeah, that's my take. But I hope you'll join us tomorrow at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for the kickoff of that series. Again, thank you all for joining me. I'm so pleased that all of you keep coming to hear what I have to say about these cases and join the conversations. And here's the thing, that's the part I love the best. I love hearing what you have to say about it. I love answering and researching your questions. So please hit those comment sections on any of the videos about these cases I've covered tonight or any of the others on the roster or anything else. That's what I'm here for. I've always said I'm here for the conversations. It's the best part. This is a hobby of mine, a passion of mine. I plan on keeping to do it as long as you guys keep wanting to hear about it. So I really want you to hear some likes, some subscribe if you wish. I mean, and definitely share it around to others that you think might want to join the conversations with us. And hit the back of that comment sections. It helps the algorithm. It helps us grow. It's you guys. It's you guys and your interactions that help get me out there on the algorithm. So keep it up. You're doing great. And I really appreciate it. I really, really do. I'm kind of overwhelmed by the whole thing. I can't express enough my gratitude to those of you that have been here for years, and have encouraged me, no matter what was going on, to just do what I'm going to do. Just be true to myself, be true to the content I want to put out here, and just do it my way. And thanks for being around and encouraging me to do it. Uh, it feels kind of good tonight. It does. So thank you, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow.